Well, hey there. Welcome to the very first video of my brand new channel. I am a grumpy old man in a Charger. As you can see, I'm old, I'm white, I'm overweight, and I'm male. So I'm going to flex my privilege and take this platform to bitch away about whatever's on my mind. What's on my mind today? It's not Hurricane Harvey, it's not the nonsense of Donald Trump, it's not ISIS and what's going on over there. What I'm going to complain about today are reboots, because they're irritating. For the most part, there are exceptions. Specifically, what brought my attention to actually take into video, though, is the Transporter series. Yep, Transporter. I'm a car guy. Hey, car. And I happen to really enjoy those Transporter films. I think that Statham does a great job. They're entertainment. I mean, they're silly. They're nonsensical. There's certainly a suspension of disbelief. But all that said, 2 hours of brain candy. You gotta love it. But here's where my issue comes into play. When it came time to do a fourth film, Statham decided that he didn't want anything to do with it, so they decided, all right, well, we'll get Ed Skrein. Ed Skrein, he can do the next film, and clever enough, they called it Transporter Refueled. Refueled car, reboot. I thought, all right, that's kind of witty. My issue is this, though. For whatever reason, they decided that Ed Skrein's character in Transporter Refueled would be Frank Martin. Frank Martin was Statham's character in the first 3 films. And I kind of have an issue with that, you know? My thing is this, in Transporter 3, they established that there are other transporters in this Transporter universe, this shared universe, if you want to call it that. And that's, I mean, it had an opportunity for them to say, you know what? There are other transporters. I mean, this was, 10 plus years ago or so. Uber wasn't around. I mean, now every dude with a GPS and a cell phone could be a transporter. It's called Uber and Lyft. But nonetheless. So instead of deciding that they were going to create a whole new character around Ed Skrein as an actor and say, okay, this is a new character, this is a new series, and then that way they could do spin-offs and whatnot, great, because they've already established that other transporters do exist in this realm. But no, they decided, screw it, we're just going to call him Frank Martin. All right, whatever. Stupid, you could have made a whole new backstory for a whole different character. Well, then what they decide to do is they're going to make a TV series. Well, it was okay. Luc Besson was still involved. Luc Besson created Transporter. He created the Taken series. He does a lot of those Eurovision kind of films, right? His big one, of course, being Fifth Element. He had a lot to do with Fifth Element, the Bruce Willis movie. And they decide that they're going to do a TV series. So what do they decide to do? Well, they're going to get Chris Vance. American viewers might remember Chris Vance. He was actually the bad guy in season 2, the first half of season 2 of Burn Notice. So fair enough. And they decided they're going to do this TV series. They filmed it in Toronto, Canada, which was great. Toronto filled in for literally every major city in the world, including, funny enough, Toronto, because they did have some episodes that took place in Toronto, which I thought was kind of cool. But again, they went with Frank Martin. Why? Why do you need to have the same character over 3 different styles? You got 2 sets of movies and a TV series now, all with the same damn character. Create a different character. He can be a freaking Uber driver. We don't care. The dude is a different transporter. All you have to do, give him a different name, give him a different backstory. I mean, they have similar jobs, they have similar backgrounds, similar lifestyles. Hell, you want to put him in the black suit with a white shirt, whatever. That's just, fashion preference. Who really cares? It's just they all got short, shaved heads, and they all wear the black suits. Other than that, and a little bit of an accent, there's really very little that connects all of these people. So I just don't understand why they couldn't be bothered. Now, the series was okay. It wasn't anything great. But nonetheless, if they had decided to use a different character, it really would have had a lot more impact. It would have given them further opportunities to do a lot different. Now, the same kind of an issue is what I had with, considering I just mentioned it, Taken. Taken is a TV series, really, I had an issue with. I watched all of the episodes, didn't really love it all that much, though. Kind of had difficulty getting into it. And one of my issues is this. Brian Mills, of course, Liam Neeson's character, he's a gentleman with a particular set of skills. And the issue with the set of skills is the fact that the dude would have had these skills 25, 30 years beforehand. That's when he would have learned how to do what he was doing. He had this job, blah, blah, blah. His daughter was 17. He was doing that job when she was a child. It's why Letty left him in the first place. So, you know, the fact that they then decided, well, screw it, we're going to reboot this as a TV series. And what we're going to do is we're going to show the backstory as to how Brian got his skills. Well, first of all, the show doesn't actually get into that because he's got most of these skills when the show begins in the first place on the train with his sister. But it's in current day. They didn't respect the timeline. If they'd set it, let's say, in the 80s or even early 90s, then that would have made more sense. I mean, really, other than just making sure you don't get any newer cars in the shot, whoa, there goes the phone. It really wouldn't have made much of a difference. Certainly not enough that, you know, they could have respected the timeline. It doesn't hurt that this guy doesn't look anything like Liam Neeson whatsoever, of course, but I digress. So what the hell is it with taking all of these movies and such and creating these TV shows where instead of just changing some of the information, changing the characters, like Lethal Weapon, perfect example. They decided to reboot the Lethal Weapon series as a TV show with one of the Wayans brothers. First of all, very unnecessary, but I get it, all right, you know, someone at Fox or whatever, they want to try to, you know, bring back the old stuff, make some memories, whatever, make some money. But the issue with that is Riggs and Murtaugh's characters have been fleshed out. They had 4 films, their relationship was created, their characters were really, really expanded upon. They showed you exactly who they were, how they interacted, and where their lives went as far as being parents, grandparents, marrying Rene Russo, and all that kind of stuff. So you want to reboot Lethal Weapon as a series, that's fine. But you don't need to use Riggs and Murtaugh as characters. I mean, Shane Black creates many different types of films. I mean, he did Last Boy Scout too, right? So the guy is capable of creating additional characters. We understand that, you know, Riggs and Murtaugh work for the LAPD. So pick 2 other random cops that work for LAPD, give them different names, slightly different backstories, and you can establish this relationship between the 2 of them the exact same way Training Day did. Bill Paxton was a fantastic character in the Training Day TV series. That could have gone on quite some time had they actually allowed it to go on. But with the passing of Bill Paxton, it completely shot it dead in the water. Pardon the phrase there, phrasing. So at least with Training Day, they decided we're going to use completely different characters, a completely new storyline, but they acknowledge Denzel in the film, in the TV show. They actually mention his character and kind of gloss over, yeah, you know, he was a cop here once, bad stuff went down, blah, blah, blah. So they actually take the time to give him the credit that he deserves. And the problem is most of these TV shows from films, I mean, we don't want to talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was just, wow, what a crapshoot that was. So the fact that they're taking all these shows that are created from movies, keeping very similar source material and same characters instead of having spin-offs, using different characters, it worked beautifully for Training Day. And, you know, it could have worked well for other things like Transporter and such like that. They didn't. I think the best example of the one time it did work best would have to be Buffy. Buffy was a mediocre film, fantastic series, went on, what, like 7 seasons? Ended great. It was just, it was done beautifully. I mean, with the exception of the occasional throwaway episode here and there, you just don't get much better than Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So that's my time. About to get on the highway here. Got to focus on the road. So thank you very much for watching. If you actually managed to sit through this whole thing, I apologize for this nonsensical vertical crap. It's just the way my phone is set up in the car, and I'm using that to film right now. So instead of being horizontal, it's going to be this stupid vertical bull crap. I apologize for that. For my next and subsequent videos, I'll try to fix that. You ever have that moment where you realize that you were too focused on your phone and should have gone right instead of left, and you've just completely added another half hour to your drive? That was probably a mistake. Anyway, hang on. Anyway, so I should probably log off now. Thanks for watching, and everybody be excellent to each other and stay off my lawn.